Today, Vila Franca do Campo is a seaward-looking district. The shimmering blue sea, which has always embraced the black lava contours that define the dividing line between land and sea, both in this district and the whole island. And as times have changed, so the sea has gained a new vocation. These are the dexterous, calloused hands of fishermen who can prepare the hooks without looking, gestures that have become automatic after years of practice. For centuries, the fishermen of Vila Franca have gained their daily bread from the sea. Again and again, their boats have slid along the ramp, still empty, but full of hope. Bobbing on the water, overflowing with fish, one by one the fishing boats enter the harbor. They are heavy and have to be hauled up the ramp onto land, and then the fish is removed, providing the fishermen with their daily bread. The sea also yields up specialties, which are used in typical traditional dishes, an inheritance passed from generation to generation, secrets guarded within families, and which delight the visitor. The traditional San Miguel octopus is one of the most popular dishes and has always maintained the same characteristics. Locust lobster and lobster are shellfish commonly found in the best restaurants, whilst the barnacles and limpets are both delicious and unique in flavor. Although not a seafood, black pudding with pineapple results from a combination of very different flavors, a truly exotic regional culinary delight. The queijadas da Vila, little cakes made from a traditional convent recipe, have become the most famous sweet in this district. Vila Franca do Campo is not only a sea town, but is closely connected to the land, as is seen in its name, Campo, countryside. King of fruits, the pineapple comes from the land, in its strange glass palaces built on these fertile fields. The people discovered the wealth of the land, tilling the fields to earn their living. It was not only maize and wheat that provided them with food, but the sweat of their brow also yielded potatoes, bananas, and vines. Every year the cycle is completed, and once again their efforts are rewarded. Cattle raising has now become the main farming activity in the district. Today, the lush green of the pastures dominates the landscape. Dotted here and there by the black and white of the herds of cows. The parishes of the district are markedly rural, endowed with very particular characteristics. The land has been so productive and fertile that man has tried to repay the gifts it offers, in accordance with his faith, and every year the rockets burst, the streets are carpeted in flowers, and the image leaves the church. The procession parades between houses, displaying bedspreads and coverlets. It is a time of celebration. Here the patron saint is Nossa Senhora da Piedade, Our Lady of Pity, and the inhabitants of Ponta Garça direct their thanks to her, bearing her image in a procession through the streets of the parish. For young people, a synthetic grass surface was recently laid in the sports precinct of this characteristic parish. Further up, almost halfway along the main road linking Vila Franca to Furnas, diverse species of imposing trees refresh the hot summer air. In contrast, the cool breeze fans the heat of the embers, which slowly produce an appetizing meal to be enjoyed at this spot. After the meal, we recommend a stroll along the tree-lined pathways of the park. The Serra dos Bezerros was inspired by the relationship between man and nature. One can commune more closely with nature by following one of the nature walks and experience a glimpse of paradise. The continuous motion of the mill wheel reminds one of the times when there was a close bond between man and nature. Memories of a time when wheat and maize grew in the fields, aided by the power of water and the strength of men's arms. The parish of Ribeira Seca perpetuates the memory of men and women who dignified the land with their toil. They contributed to the fact that do Campo, of the countryside, was added to the name of Vila Franca. Bygone times live on in the Municipal Museum, recalling domestic life and skills now lost. It gives a faithful portrait of the history of the Azorean people, often recounted by Armand Cortes Rodriguez, who curiously once lived in this very house. The earthquake of 1522 buried almost the whole of the town. The items displayed bear witness to this catastrophe, which occurred when Vila Franca do Campo was the island's capital. But the Vila Franca Museum extends beyond the doors of the building itself. The turning of the potter's wheel connects an age-old activity with the present. The pieces produced today are lumps of clay molded by art, decorative ornaments, collector's items. Authentic works of art form part of the decoration of this tourist complex, the former convent of San Francisco. A stay here will recall bygone days. The exterior of the building displays part of Vila Franca do Campo's rich architectural heritage. Directly opposite, the Antonio Silva Cabral Garden connects the convent to the Church of San Pedro, with a Baroque facade with basalt stone carvings. Inside, the Mother Chapel is a true work of art. The town's imposing mother church, with Gothic characteristics, is the Church of San Miguel Arcanjo. Inside, its magnificent high altar. Shortly after the arrival of spring, in the month of May, the procession of work leaves the church. The procession represents all the trades and skills of the district and is accompanied by the image of its patron saint. A walk through the center of Vila Franca town brings one side by side with its cultural heritage. The town hall building is a fine example of 18th century architecture, and in the main square stands a statue of Gonçalves Botelho, the founder of the town. Crossing the Enterre de Cantal garden, one comes upon the Church of Misericordia. The church contains an image of its patron, Senhor Bom Jesus de Pedra, in a recently built chapel. It also contains a treasure made up of various capes offered by local families, embroidered by the women of Vila Franca. The collection is completed by pieces of jewelry donated by the townspeople of Vila Franca. On the last Sunday in August, the inhabitants of Vila Franca demonstrate their faith in the feast of Senhor Bom Jesus de Pedra, organized by the Santa Casa de Misericordia, a charitable institution. Vila Franca is filled with color on this occasion, as the streets are thronged with immigrants and people from all over the island. In the Bento de Goix Square stands the convent of Santo Andre, founded by the Santa Clara nuns. Signs of the religiosity of the Azorean people can be seen throughout the archipelago. High on a hillside, with the mountains in the background, is the sanctuary of the Senhora da Paz. The monumental staircase, which has a symbolic connection with the rosary, stands out against the hillside. The vantage point here offers an amazing view of the whole town and its prime highlight, the Vila Franca Islets. Of all the saints, St. John the Baptist is closest to the hearts of the people of Vila Franca, despite the modest size of the chapel dedicated to him. The people of Vila Franca make a special effort to celebrate the feast of São João, St. John the Baptist. Long before the marches through the streets, there is a bustle of activity in all the parishes of the district. The preparations are carefully rehearsed, and the imagination is stretched to the limit. Then, on the magical evening of 23rd June, the marches parade, and the streets are lined by spectators who flock here from all over the island.
Seja homem ou mulher,
A fireworks display signals the end of the night and the beginning of a long wait for yet another year to go by. At the end of the 19th century, the first hydroelectric power station in the country, and also one of the first in Europe, was set in motion. This was a period when watercourses became the generators of a new era, which would transform all societies. This power station, now converted into a museum, is open to visitors here at this picturesque spot of Praia. There are many watercourses in this district, and in fact, the parish of Agua Dulce, literally water from a height, was named after a waterfall. The traditions continue, and the feast of São Lázaro is celebrated annually, including the traditional procession. The waters of the streams continue to flow to the present, running out into what has become the current vocation of the district, the sea, the shimmering blue sea of the best beaches of the island. Now that times have changed, Vila Franca do Campo has discovered that the sea is its best resource to attract tourism. Proof of this is the hotels which are located in precisely these areas. The importance of the sea has become so great that another port has recently been opened to visitors. Now this modern marina is prepared to shelter those who have made the sea their means of travel. Here, too, a great adventure begins. The observation of marine creatures has attracted many adventurers who are able to see turtles, dolphins, and whales up close. At the Vila Franca islet, the hallmark of the district, one can enjoy unique moments of pleasure and relaxation, such as a refreshing dive into the islet's natural pool. Right next to the Vinha de Rea beach, a large complex has been developed which, together with the marina, is proof of the district's vocation for tourism. The Atlantico Splash Water Park is one of the highlights of these attractions. A covered swimming pool offers an excellent alternative for fitness enthusiasts. There is also a large gymnasium, furnished with up-to-date equipment to help you keep in shape. And the perfect way to end the day, a fine dinner in the modern Praia Cafe restaurant. Today, this district is well prepared for new challenges. While the sea is ever present, Vila Franca do Campo is now, more than ever, a combination of the countryside and sea.